Okay.
All right.
I want to see your pretty face.
Okay, so I'm going to get started, guys, and thank you and welcome to the call. And we'll probably have more people jump on as we're in it. So I want to introduce, I'm pretty excited. We've been going back and forth for almost 3 months. Kay is a very busy woman, a very successful coach. I want to tell you a little bit about her. She's, in her own words, an incredibly passionate, holistic, whole life and business coach. And she helps people find the sweet spot in life, blending life and business. She's been an entrepreneur since she was 9 years old. And in her words, that's a story for another day. She's safe. She feels like it's safe to say she's had many failures that have led both to opportunities and to successes. Hold on, let me let some more people in. Let's see. All right. Now, I want to say in 2000, oh, she says here, in 2014, I was forced to be still due to a hip replacement. And in that time of stillness, I got real clear that my life was filled, but not fulfilling. Have you ever thought about the difference? That is a really good question, Kay, and thanks for presenting it in your bio. It's huge. I was no longer willing to accept living an unfulfilled life. I love this quote by Marshall Goldsmith: "What got you here won't get you there." So my transformation began for over 25 years now. I've been coaching, educating, and training. I live for that moment in time when my clients begin to experience their own transformation, the sweet spot. And I want to say this about Kay, since I met her probably 15 years ago.
Oh, at least.
It could have been. When did you join KW?
2002.
Yeah, so it's 19 years then, because I met you the year you joined.
Yep.
And she has been so learning based and taken her career to so many incredible places as a result of her own efforts. You can't give anybody else credit for what she busted her butt doing. And we've stayed in contact over the many, many years. And I like to say that the proof of her success is how hard it was to get a date scheduled for her to be on here, because she's very, very busy. So, Kay, welcome to the call. We have a mixture, both in the people who listen to the recording and the people here, of high producing, low producing real estate agents. We have home warranty people, title people, escrow people.
All good.
Yeah, and so I'm really excited personally. And I know a couple of people that are friends of mine that aren't on the email list that I'm anxious to share the recording with after today, but pretty excited to hear from you. And I know you're able to take this out on your own. So please share with us some of your wisdom.
Okay, let's go.
Yep.
So I'll tell you a little bit about myself. People would say I was a type A. I am a high D. And I'm very driven. I'm very dominant, and a little bit creative too. And for years, I actually developed a mentor and productivity coaching program for Keller Williams, and I ran that for 10 years out of Overland Park, Kansas. I worked approximately 80 hours a week on the average. I used to wear that as a badge of honor. And really that somewhat served me well, because I have a servant heart and I really love helping people. I love the Zig Ziglar: when you help others get what they want, you get what you want. However, the last 2 years that I did that, I was not fulfilled, nor was I happy. And yet I really didn't know why, because I really never stood in a place long enough to be silent, to get to know who I was in my own being. And so God has a crazy way of making things happen. When he wants to get your attention and he has something to tell you. Mine just happened to come in a hip replacement at 56. There was really no reason for me to have that. And Rick knows, since you just had one, there is a process of recuperation. And if you don't follow that process, you're kind of screwed afterwards. And so I really had to work on myself to be in that place, to be still, allow the journey and the process to unfold. And I had to pay attention to myself in order to make that healing happen. Can I tell you that was probably the first time in my adult life that I actually 100% paid attention to myself. And and when I say that I'm a holistic, let's just say it's WHOLE. It's the whole person. And so during that period of time, thinking and having worked with agents and coaching and training, here's what I started to really think about, and really entrepreneurs. It doesn't matter what field you're in. When you're an entrepreneur, you birth that business and that is your baby. And entrepreneurs will lean into their business and do whatever it takes in order for it to be a success and to serve their customers and clients at a very high level, even at the expense of themselves and their families and relationships. And so I really started to think about this. I knew that the entrepreneurs I worked with, even if they made great money, they didn't know how to manage money. They really didn't know what they were thinking at any given time. It would be after, always that future thinking. And so they were always in this place of high anxiety. Can anybody relate to any of this? Anybody here? Anybody here? Okay. Okay. And so I thought there's got to be a better way. I have read hundreds of books on mindset. So I knew that mindset was definitely a key. But here is what I learned. You've probably all heard of the PTFAR, right? Programming, thoughts, feelings, actions, results, correct? Well, years ago when I was taught that quite frankly made no sense to me. Until about 4.5 years ago, I started working with a coach that all we worked on was the brain. And that is when everything for me came together. So here's the key. You all have between 60 and 90,000 thoughts a day. Did y'all know that? 60 to 90,000 thoughts a day. Some of those thoughts you are very much aware of, but most of those thoughts are undercurrent thoughts. Now, every single thought that you have comes with its own vibration in your body. Every thought that you have brings with it, it generates, I should say, a feeling. Write that down. I want you to write down the word feeling. Write that down. But we don't always know what we're feeling because as entrepreneurs, we're usually running to the next thing. Here's the magic. You will always take action based on the way you feel. Write that down. Every single action that you do is generated by a feeling. Now, you all think it's a thought. It's a feeling. Now, the thought is what causes that vibration, the feeling, the emotion. That's why you've heard people make decisions based on how they feel, because it's the way they're thinking. Now, I really started to think about this. I'm like, wait a second. Because quite frankly, as a high D personality, type A, I do not like to talk a lot about feelings. I'm like, okay. I just would like bypass a lot of the feelings. And it's just, I wasn't wired that way until I found that out. And I'm like, okay, so wait a second. Let me get this straight. Everything I do action wise comes from a feeling. And then I started thinking about all the decisions that I had made in my life. And I could think back and I could think about how I was feeling at the time. Now, you all know what I'm talking about. Think about some of the decisions that you have made in your life and how you were feeling. So then it got me to thinking about why people journal, because I wasn't a journaler. Now, I owned a bunch of journals. When I decided to journal, I went right to my closet here in my office and I discovered that I had approximately 17 journals, all of which had a sentence on the first page. Anybody can relate to that? So none of those, I threw them all out and I went and got me a pretty journal and that felt good and a pen. I had no idea what I was going to write in this journal, but I was bound and determined to figure out and unlock the key, find the key to unlock this mystery to me. And what I discovered was that the more I wrote in my journal and the more I was really paying attention to what I really was thinking, then I could decide on purpose to think something different. But I also had to pay attention to what the thoughts were causing, what those thoughts were generating in my body. What was the vibration? And this is why there is a multi-billion-dollar business in self-help books, because all humans want to feel different. We want to feel different. So this is why people, when they aren't feeling centered or in alignment, they'll self-medicate. They'll overdrink. They'll overeat. They'll lay on the couch and watch Netflix. They'll oversleep. They will do whatever it takes in order to feel better. Here's why. You actually have, for just the sake and purposes, you actually have two brains. Every single brain and every single human is wired the same. It's negative. Everybody's brain is wired negative, fight or flight. In order to have an intentional positive thought, that will only come from the prefrontal cortex. So when people say that they are positive people, you're like, I'm a positive person. No, they're still a negative person. They think on purpose with their prefrontal cortex in order to have a different thought, in order to have a different feeling. So that was a big aha for me. So then I'm like, okay, now I got to pay attention to my feelings. The next thing that came into my life is I started to study the feminine and the masculine energy. And every human is wired to either have a dominant masculine energy or a feminine energy. It has nothing to do with gender. So would you all like to know what your dominant energy is? All right, this is going to require you to stand up, but if you're driving, don't stand up, okay? So if you stand up and you place your right hand on a hard surface and you look over your right hand, either your pointer finger or your ring finger is going to be longer, or they may be the same. Just your right hand, place it firmly on a hard surface and look over your hand and determine which finger is longer, your index finger, which is next to your thumb, or your ring finger, which is next to your pinky. Okay, everybody got it? Sit down. Write that down. Are you so the ring finger is a dominant masculine and the index finger is a dominant feminine.
No wonder I've always been called one of the girls.
Are you a dominant feminine?
I am.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Now, the reason that this is important is because if you're a dominant feminine energy and you're always running in your masculine energy, you will feel out of sorts. If you're a masculine energy, which is what I am, and you always are running in the masculine, which is a masculine energy is a get her done task, no celebrations. I mean, do we have to have a party because we accomplish a year-end goal and bust it through? No, we don't. Move on, have a cupcake, blow out a candle, let's get on to the next year. Okay, that's a dominant masculine energy. But what happens is, and then I think Deborah or somebody said, okay, if your fingers are the same, usually you will lead with a feminine energy. However, you can move between the two pretty quickly. If you're a dominant feminine energy, you're extremely creative. You are, you're a thinker.
You're extremely cool.
You're extremely cool. A feminine energy likes to do yoga. They also, if they spend too much time in that feminine energy, they become lethargic, depressed. They will also be known to overspend if they spend too much time thinking. They like the feminine part is creative and thinking. The masculine is the taskmaster. So, for example, all of your businesses were created in the masculine energy. Every business is always created, or excuse me, in the feminine energy, because that's where we're the creative. That's why you're in the shower and you have your best ideas. That's feminine energy. Everybody wakes up in the morning in feminine energy, every single person. And when you open your email right away, or you jump into work, you cut your feminine energy off, doesn't matter which one is dominant, and you move right over to masculine. So you create your business and your systems in your feminine, and the masculine energy is the taskmaster that carries it out. Now, if you spend too much time in masculine energy, no matter what your dominant is, you will hit burnout. And I got my burnout in a hip replacement because for years that internal stress was just eating bone, eating bone, eating bone. Okay. And so for people that spend too much time in the masculine, that are especially dominant masculine, you will hit burnout. Now, what's interesting is if you think of the yin and the yang sign, the masculine energy is black. It's the widest part going down to the thinnest part, which then opens up to the widest part of the white. The white is the feminine. And so when I had a hip replacement, and all those years I was going right down here, I had no choice but to pay attention to myself and heal myself in the feminine energy. So babies grow in the feminine energy. You heal in the feminine energy. So now after studying that, I'm like, how does this all come together? And then there was this little book that snuck out. It wasn't very popular when I read it. Now it's like blown up. And it was called The Miracle Morning by Hal Elrod. Anybody here read that book? So good, life-changing. I have all of my clients read that book because when I read that book, I had a light bulb moment. So in that book, he talks about savers. If you want to write this down, S is for silence. A is for affirmations. V is for visualization. E is for exercise. R is for reading. And S is for scribing. Now let's take a look at all that. Those are feminine energy tasks. And here is where you will get the most out of your savers. First thing in the morning, before you even look at your phone. And here's the magic. The feminine energy is what feeds the masculine energy. Work smarter, not harder. Ever heard that? And the reason that that sticks is because everything we do in our lives and in our business, we do with our minds. We make money with our minds. We fall in love with our minds. We choose relationships with our minds. So then I started really putting this all together. And I was like, okay, I'm starting to get this now. So the more time I spend thinking in the morning, then when I cross over to the masculine energy and go to work, I am in a place of peace and center. I am not jumping out of bed into the shower and having a chaotic morning, already thinking about all the crap that could happen or going to go wrong, or I'm already running late, and I'm not like chaotic going out into the world. And we already know that our thoughts, because they're energy, what we think about, we bring about, we all know it. We've heard it a bazillion times. But now I started to really understand this little thing called energy and the difference between the two brains. So if I was aware of what I was thinking, and I could call my brain out, because we all know our brains make a bunch of stories up. And I'm like, wait, so how many of those stories have I been taking action from that weren't necessarily true? Because when you look at your life and where you sit today, everything that you have in your life is a culmination of decisions and choices that you have made based on how you thought. But how you really, it was because of how you felt. So think about your business. Think about everything that you have done to build your business. And think about where you would like your business to go, which is building a relationship with your future self, which you do have to build a relationship with your future self. You understand that. It's a liaison. You have to be able to see yourself in the future to know where you're going. And the reason being is because here it comes. Here's another golden nugget. The brain likes to know where it's going in order to be efficient. The brain does not like chaos, and it doesn't like to be wobble wobble. It's like, hey, dude, where are we going? What do we got to do? Because I like to be efficient. This is why I keep thinking the same thoughts over and over again for you, because we already have a highway for those thoughts, and it's really easy to keep thinking the same thoughts over and over again. I'll never get this. I'll never hit my goal. Why is it that every time I go on a listing appointment, I don't get it? I hope I get this one. All of that is negative thinking with negative energy. But if you want to create a higher vibration in your body, and you want your business to be different, then it is going to require you to intentionally tap into your prefrontal cortex. So when you think about the things that you want to change in your life, you will have to be intentional about it. And you're going to have to be intentional about it every single time until you have built that super highway to where it becomes automatic. Like you no longer have to think about how to cut your meat. You already know. You no longer have to think about that in order to have money, you have to take actions to earn money. You're like, oh yeah, I got that one down. Whether it's exercise, whether it's your business, whether it's your relationships, anytime you want to feel better about something or to have it be different, it's going to require you to do it with intention. Or you can keep buying the books and reading the books and hoping that one day something will change. But who in the hell has that kind of time? Why wouldn't I want to tap into the magic? Why wouldn't I want to spend that time in the morning thinking? Years ago, I remember I was walking my big old dog Casey, and you guys will laugh, this will date me, but I don't care. I was listening to John Maxwell CDs on my Discman. I got a CD every month, and it was like Christmas every month. And one day I'm walking, and he was talking about his thinking chair. So you figure this is 20 years ago at least. And he said that he had a chair in his office that he would always go to that chair and think. He only took his yellow tablet and a bottle of water. And he would purposely sit there and think for hours. And he had it scheduled the whole 9 yards. Nobody else was allowed to sit in the chair. He didn't sit there and read a book. He didn't sit there and, of course, I don't think back then they had internet, but he just went to that chair to think. So here's another nugget. Do you have time in your schedule to think on purpose? I have Thursday mornings it's in my calendar from 8 to 9:15. I think on purpose. A lot of times I'll go in there with a topic. Usually I will get this topic from things that I've been writing about in my journal, something that might be bothering me, an idea that I might have, or it'll give me time to think about the future of my business. I'm like, where do I want to go? It's the place where I thought about earning my first million in thinking time. It's the place where I came up with the idea to pay my house off super early. It was the place that I would like, what would that be like? What would that be like? Who would I be? But we have to give our brains white space to think. So here's what my morning looks like. I get up between 4 and 4:30 because I choose to. I get up, I grab a cup of coffee, let the dogs out, feed them their breakfast. And here's the thing, my dogs now are so trained. They lay quietly. I read my Jesus Calling. I grab my journal. I write about what I'm thinking about. I then move into affirmations, and you can do this in any order you want. I always do my exercise last. But affirmations are not how I was taught. I did my own little gig. In my journaling, I like to write about my own greatness and my own worthiness. And the same for all of you. You didn't get where you are being here today without having some pretty amazing things that you created and accomplished. And I like to feed my soul and let my soul know that, look at Kay, you've done this, and then you did this, and you helped that person, and they had a breakthrough. That's affirmations too. And really what affirmations, they are thoughts that you think on purpose. That's what an affirmation is. And even when you begin to think thoughts on purpose, you're not going to necessarily believe those thoughts, and that's okay. You have to practice believing them until they create the emotion that comes with it. Then I'll read. I always exercise last. Now, I find a lot of people forget about the exercising, but here's the thing. You're made up of energy. And if you're not moving your body at least 30 minutes a day intentionally, then you're just recycling your old stale energy. So you've got to move your body every single day for a minimum of 30 minutes. It's also going to boost your immune system, which is going to keep your brain active. Okay. I'm going to take a pause and take a drink. It's a lot of talking. Okay. So journaling is a place where you get to take out all your garbage and put it in the paper, on the paper. And the reason is because if you don't take it out of your brain and lay it onto paper, you're going to just keep thinking those same thoughts. So think about your kitchen trash. At some point, your kitchen trash gets full. And then you keep trying to shove more stuff in. And you keep trying to shove more stuff in. And now it's kind of stinking. Then you put some more stuff in. Now it's starting to overflow. Wait, it's starting to leak too. And eventually you have got to take the trash out. Journaling is amazing. And so that is a way that you can become familiar with what you're really thinking. Okay, let's go back, circle back to feelings. So a lot of entrepreneurs, when it's time to reach out and have conversations with people and grow their business, here's what I hear. I know I had it on the schedule, but when it came to that, I tell you, I just wasn't feeling it. I wasn't feeling it. No, I can't do that. I'm not feeling it. And that's because they will have thoughts of, I'm going to be bothering somebody. People are going to think I'm salesy. It's that thought that causes you not to take action. So let's have a different thought. Today, I'm going to reach out to people because there are people that I am supposed to talk to and build relationships with. And there's probably somebody out there that I can help, whether it's through my business or maybe it'll be through a connection. But isn't that what the world is all about, is connection? So I'm going to pick up the phone today and I'm going to see who I can serve. That is a different thought with a different feeling. So if you're not taking action on something in your life, it's because of the way you're thinking about it, and you're probably not even aware of what you're thinking. Okay, Rick, do you want to ask some questions?
Well, I've been getting a lot of great text messages about you already. So would you all like to unmute yourself and ask a couple of questions of this amazing young lady? And I don't know if you noticed, Kay, but a big fan of yours is on here. Her name's Katie.
I saw Katie, and then I was like, oh, and I was like, I got distracted for a second, and then I came back. And is she still here? Yes, she is.
Katie, do you want
Nice.
to mute?
Oh, there's a chat. Maybe I should look at that. Okay. Yeah, oh, yeah, Katie, yours are the same. Yeah, you know what, Katie, knowing you, I can see that you might lead with that feminine energy, but also be able to move quickly in and out. I would agree with that. I would agree with that. All right, I will take some questions. Are your people shy?
Depends on the day. Most of them are not. So anybody got anything? Oh, Katie's signing back in, it looks like. Oh, there we go. All right.
There she is.
Yeah, she's not connected to audio yet. So any of you just unmute yourself and shoot Kay a question. I learned a lot of really good stuff, Kay, and I'm going to probably watch the recording again. It's really good stuff.
Well, let's you and I have a conversation because people will always get, they're shy to ask, but
Yeah,
let's
great.
have a conversation.
Well, what I was going to say is that I love how you related it to them, thinking about their business versus what they're actually doing. When you're coaching people that are struggling with, let's say, lead generation, how do you apply what you're talking about to that specifically, if you don't mind me asking?
Yeah, I mean, and lead generation is for everybody, but the word itself, lead generation, causes a vibration in the body where they get a feeling in the pit of their stomach. Like just saying that word, I'm having that feeling right now. Okay. That they get this pit in their stomach. And so that's a very low vibration. They have that feeling of anxiety about doing it. Okay. So we have to have a different thought. So if the words lead generation cause you anxiety, well, then stop it. Think of it this way. And I touched a little bit about it. All businesses are built on relationships. There's no way to get around it. All businesses are built on relationships. Why do you think Brian Buffini is a multimillionaire? He has a business that he teaches people how to build relationships. So my business is 7 years old. It was built all on referrals. I don't have an email list. I have somebody else that runs the website. I do Facebooks, but it's all based on referral because of the relationships. And so if you want to generate business, then really you're talking about generating relationships. And if you can get several people that you are in relationship with at a very high level, then they will refer you all day long, because the reason why people refer people is because they are excited from their experience and they want somebody else to feel that same way. They want them to feel happy and have a good experience. Wouldn't you agree? That's why you refer somebody. And so when you don't think lead generation, you're like, take that. I'm not even going to talk about lead generation. But what I get excited about are relationships. So let me just share this example. I hired this guy as my financial advisor 7 years ago. And he is amazing. He's half my age. Like I could totally be his mother. But the kid is sharp. And you know what he's really good at? He is really good at building relationships. And in fact, he's like 35, 36, and he earned himself partnership and is getting ready to buy the business that he went to work for because of the relationships that he has built. And so he hired me as his coach, and we coached for a year or so, and he's still now in my coaching group. But when he goes out and he tells people about his experience about being coached in our coaching relationship, he refers people to me. Now, I have experienced this man at a very high level. My financial portfolio rocks, and it's because he knows how to rock it. And so anytime I talk to somebody who is not financially secure in their future or who would like to do something different financially, I'm going to sell Mark all day long. And so now when he meets with people on a business and they're thinking about it and they say, do you have references? He's like, absolutely. I'm his number one reference. And when somebody says, well, let me think about coaching, I'd like to talk to somebody. Absolutely. Here's Mark's number. And so last week when I had an opening come available on my personal roster, I have a private roster and then I have a coaching group, Mark already had somebody ready to move into that spot. So she was just waiting for the previous client to finish their agreement, and then she starts the following week. That happens all the time. All the time. Number one, usually those people become his client at some point because I circle them back around to him. And then anybody he starts to work with, usually he works with a lot of entrepreneurs or, we know what those people are like. He circles them back around to me.
Nice.
Okay.
That's a good flow.
That is what you're looking for. That's what you're looking for. So you're not lead generating. You're like, I get to go build relationships today for 2 hours. And even though I have past or former clients, guess what? I still call them just like you all do you know why I call them? I call to love on them. I call to check on them. And 9 times out of 10, they're like, how did you know? Like, we swear you have ESP. I'm like, I kind of do. Yeah. And they usually will want to buy a maintenance hour, or they will come back into coaching for a short period of time, or I get an opportunity to tell them about the group.
Let's go.
Okay. So if the words lead generation are making you have a sickness or a pit in your stomach, then stop thinking that. Because when I think about, I get the opportunity to love on the humans and I let them know that I care and that I am their resource, and I get to reinforce that they can call me first. I'm like, I'm the person you call. Or if any of your friends or family or neighbors, you put them right in touch. They'll sell you all day long. Now, I love this because I don't have to work as hard. The reason I don't have to work as hard is because I just go get me 5 people that'll work for me. That'll tell everybody how wonderful it is and what a great experience. Okay, you get my drift?
Yeah.
So it's like, and it's great marketing. So it saves on the marketing budget, and you don't have to work as hard. But you do have to remind people. You do have to be a closer. You can't just be all la-di-da-di-da. You've got to have a closing statement. Okay.
And then
Great question.
Do you recommend besides Miracle Morning, do you have any particular books that sort of bring our fears to the surface so that we can move forward in the uncomfortable things we do in our business?
Well, you can read all the books you want, but here's what I'm going to tell you. The fact of the matter is that you're going to have to change the way you think, period.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Because think of all the books that you all have read. What in the heck did you implement from it?
Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
That's why it's like $1 billion business, because we all know that people don't implement until they have a thought that they want to have a different way of life, Like they're sick of feeling that way.
Yeah.
They're sick of it. And so they want to feel differently. They want to feel better. That's the only way they're going to have a different thought. And even when you're going through some of that stuff, it feels like it's really hard.
Yeah.
And you want to quit. But then you have another thought that's like, oh, hell no, I am not slipping back. No. And that's why they say like the 66-day challenge. What it really is that you have to have a brand new thought every day for 66 days that keeps you going in order to have the results that you want, period.
Wow. I like that.
Okay. Because you're going to want to have a different life. You're going to want something to change in your life. And every day you are going to have to negotiate with yourself because you're making that decision from the prefrontal cortex. And the primitive brain is like, oh, hell no, that's going to be uncomfortable. We're not going to do that. Oh, no, we are doing it. Listen, I'm just saying, you're tired today. You had a busy day yesterday. You're exhausted. You don't need to work out. One day's not going to matter. Oh no, we are working out and one day does matter. Okay. And so that's why even when you make a decision or you have a goal, you still are going to have to negotiate your thoughts with yourself every single day. You are.
That's brilliant. Thank you, Kay. All right. Well, we're coming up to 9:50 California time. So I'd love to hear some questions before we call it a day on the call.
I would love to hear from Janet because Janet, I saw light bulbs going on, girlfriend.
I don't have a question, but I want to say I really appreciate the information that you shared today with us. And a lot of the things that you have said, I do resonate with them. Like, for example, the calling my friends on about my business, and how you said it is you change the way you think. So, for example, my affirmation to contact friends, at first I said I contact 10 or more people every day. And then I changed it to I care about 10 friends every day.
Yes.
And then it changed the feeling
Yes.
and doing. So what you said today, it sort of reaffirms what
Yes.
the importance of that to generate the feelings that we need to keep our business
Yes.
moving forward. And thank
Yes.
you for that.
You're welcome. And you're absolutely right. So your business is going to grow based on how you feel. Crazy, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
Hey,
thank you.
this is Tom in Northern California. I've enjoyed your comments. I'm going to have to probably listen to the recording again to get the most out of it. But you've been talking a lot about building a relationship with yourself,
Yes.
which I think that's where it all begins, really. But being in Silicon Valley, I deal a lot with engineers. I'm still a relatively new agent, but most of the engineers I run into are either right or left brain. I always get the two confused, but they're really thinking. They're rational. You don't think of them as having much of a feminine side. It's all black and white. They make
But they do.
yeah,
And they do.
yeah. So maybe it's a part of another lesson or something, but building relationships with others. I mean, back in the day, and I'm dating myself, it all used to be about neuro linguistic programming,
Mhm.
mirroring, and
Mhm.
sometimes you have to be an actor and
Mhm.
not really be well, I shouldn't say your true self, but you have to kind of mirror and appeal to them. And I was showing an engineer a property the other day, and he's from a rural area in Placerville and everything else. And we looked at this property. And I thought, you know what? I'm going to find out what was it that he liked about where he grew up. And we kind of painted a picture, and I could see the light bulb going off. And I really felt good about that, that I was kind of talking his language, and now he wants to write an offer on the property. And it was like a minor victory. So I guess it's not a specific question, but I would be interested to hear your thoughts on when you build a relationship with yourself, how does that translate into building relationship with others?
Well, great question. So when you build a relationship with yourself, what you're really taking time to do is understand how you think and why do you think that? And so when sometimes in my journal, I will write a question to myself and I will use my name as a third party and I'll be like, hey, Kay, so what do you think about XYZ? And I'll write about it and I'll be like, well, why are you thinking that thought? So the more that you are connected to your thoughts, of course, you're going to show up in the world completely different, because a lot of times when you start to connect with your own thoughts, you can actually see where your thoughts have really dragged you down or maybe are dragging you down. The other thing is, part of the visualization is you have to be able to go out into the future and imagine who you're going to be in that place in your business, because the person that started this business 7 years ago is not who is running this business today. And the person that sits here in front of you is not going to be the person that runs my future business. And so because of the brain likes to be efficient and knows where it's going, it's important for you to also build that relationship with your future self. Because here's the thing, the brain has no perception of time. And so when you're thinking about who you are becoming, then what happens is you basically start to take action from that place in the present. Okay. Now, as far as your client and the mirror and the matching, okay, let me lay this little nugget on you. When you watch people move in the world, you're watching their A-line, you're watching their actions. You are watching how they move in the world because you are observing their actions. Understand that their actions have been generated by a feeling, and the feeling has been generated by a thought. So I will sit and observe people, and it kind of gives me a secret insight to what they might be thinking and feeling, just observing the way they move in the world.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Make sense?
That does make sense. Yes, absolutely. Great.
Well, okay. Any others before we call it a day?
Come on, Patrice. I could tell, girl, I saw your eyes light up. I saw you smile. I saw you do the head bob.
Stop it. You're absolutely right. Just like Janet said, so many things are resonating with me. And the main thing is you're talking about journaling. And I have journaled since I was a teenager. It's turned into me writing short stories and poetry. And most recently, I've become a playwright. And I've also decided, as you said, the brain likes to know where it's going.
Yes.
So you're telling me what I'm just internalizing, wondering recently, is this what's happening? Am I really realizing that I can put these two things together? Because I'm only expressing myself when I write. And when I build relationships and talk to people, I'm only expressing what I really feel. And these two things are successful thus far and are going to be greater even in the future, right?
Yes, yes. And here's I just got God bumps on that. Here's the other thing, Patrice, you know this to be true, that the more you journal and the more you connect with your own thoughts, the more you trust yourself and the more your intuition will come up. And when your intuition comes up and you follow that intuition, you actually build more trust with yourself. And so really having that trust with you and their relationship with you is right. And so now I can tell you have a lot of trust with yourself because you're very centered in who you be because you're aware of what you think. You can unmute. Is that right?
You're absolutely right. Right
Yeah.
on.
Yeah. Yeah. Because we can tell when we feel out of whack, it's because we're out of balance with our feminine and masculine energy. And to get back to center requires us to pay attention to what we're thinking. Yeah.
Very good. Patrice is just a sweetheart too. Okay, she's on our team and amazing. So
Is it okay if I tell about the coaching group?
oh yeah, please. I'd love for you to do. It'll be a good way to close out. So
Okay. So
and also put the information in the chat and send it to Gina, and we'll put it in the email.
well, Gina just can put up my website and they can go there. And you guys can find me at K Blonde Holistic Coaching on Facebook too. So here's a little story, and I'll talk fast because I got 1 minute. Back in May of 2020, I think there was this thing called the pandemic. Anyway, at around, I think it was end of March, 1st of April, I had a lot of people reaching out, and a lot of my time was being spent helping people. And one morning, I got a little tap in my miracle morning. I got a little tap from God that said, "We're going to start a coaching group." And I'm like, "Say what?" And I've done coaching groups in the past. It's a lot of work to show up every week with a topic, and manage all of the all. He's like, "No, we're going to start a coaching group." I'm like, "I don't know if I want to do that." And he's like, "No, we're going to do it. And you're going to charge $55, and it's going to be on Thursday mornings from 9 to 10 Central." I'm like, "Oh, have you lost your God mind up there? That's crazy." And he said, "No, we're going to do this because there's a lot of people that need to experience coaching, and they had the mindset that they wouldn't be able to afford it. And therefore they keep spinning and spinning and spinning." So I did. Next week will be the 1-year anniversary. And so if you would like to be a part of that, we meet from 9 to 10 Central Time every Thursday. It's $55 a month. I don't have, oh, thank you, Gina. There's no agreement. And you can come in, and if you're like, "This broad is crazy, this isn't for me," then you can just let me know and I will cancel it for you. It's not a big deal. When you do join, you get access to the entire library. So imagine that's a recorded call from every week. Also, then you're able to buy an hour of my time if you personally want to have a one-on-one, and that price is $70 an hour. And I only have 3 of those appointments open per month, so 3 to 4. So people, sometimes, like the gal that I have today, she's scheduled last month. And the reason is that group does not belong to me. That is, yeah, I show up every day and people come in, and there's 38 of us. There's been really no advertising, word of mouth. And we really dive into, it's about mindset and business. We work from the trifecta, which is managing your brain, managing your energy, and managing your time. And so, and they're all recorded. If you can't make it, you'll be a member of the private Facebook group. You can watch it there, but I have an app, and then every Friday, the app emails you out, and you can watch it then. I highly encourage you to be present. Now for you all, that would be 7 o'clock in the morning, but you can do it because you'll be up at 4 doing your miracle morning. You'll be ready to go. But it's been an incredible networking opportunity. for all the peoples. And man, there's hairstylists in there. There's financial planners. I have an estate attorney in there. I have the owner of Answer Media in there. There's real estate agents, there's title companies, there's bankers. It's every walk of life. But the people that show up and are present are the people that actually benefit from it most. People that say that, you know, I won't be there, but I'll be listening. I can see from the back end, they don't listen. And then they're gone in like 2 or 3 months. And they haven't implemented or done anything. And so like next week will be the first Thursday of the month. And on the first Thursday of the month, we all do a CEO debriefing on our lives and our business. So it's our accountability, but it's really good, really good. It's like a family. And so if you want to join, let's see, my website is kblonde.com.
Yeah, I put it in the,
Yeah.
yeah.
And that's how you can join. And like I said, I always listen when God knocks at my door. I always pay attention. He's always got a bigger plan. I don't question. I just show up and do the work.
Nice. Nice.
So,
All right. Well, we've got to wrap this one up.
Yeah.
Kay, thank you so much. We're going to put all
thank
your information
you.
in the chat, and it will be in the email along with the recording that goes out next Wednesday. And Kay will add you to that.
Okay.
You can see it. And we thank you all for attending today. And Kay,
You guys are awesome.
Art, thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule to help us out today. So
My pleasure. My pleasure. All
Okay.
right, you guys. Thank you, Rick.
Be
Have
good.
a beautiful day.
Bye,
Thank you
everyone.
very much. Bye-bye.
Bye.